on page 90 of your lab manual, and you'll see that they give you an example of what to graph. So this is just an example. This is mass versus volume. They tell you to find an independent and dependent variable. So basically independent will be your x-axis, dependent will be your y-axis. In this case here, it looks like they're measuring the volume and then they're weighing it. So the volume will be your x-axis and the mass will be your y-axis. So you'll have to be able to distinguish that. And they also teach you how to use it on graph paper, how to figure out how to space your graph paper numbers out. So if you take a look, there's an example of graph paper I'll show you in the pages after this. Going across, there's 15 boxes. Going up and down, there's 20 boxes. So you'll have to go through and do those calculations. In this case here, once you take your highest y value minus lowest y value, divide it, in our case, it will be 20 boxes. If you get something like 1.45, please don't use 1.45 as your marker because that would be a nightmare. So I would say, they say use 1.5. I would even say use 2. Will make it easy. Each box is 2, or maybe each box is usually I would say 2 is closer, or 1.5 that works too. Just anything that's not as hard as 1.45. Okay, so if you have the same thing on x-axis, they also tell you to do calculations. Once you do that, whatever the value is, if you end up getting like 3 or 4 point something, I would go ahead and keep it to 5 as my space in between of each one. Okay, so if you number with whole number, you want to start 310, whatever, 311.5 because they're using 1.5. So in our cases, I think we'll probably end up going to use 5 and 5 for both x and y axis. So just keep that in mind. So in this case here, you walk through it, it will show you how to draw best fit line. This is all using a paper. So I wanted to show you guys how to do it on Excel. Okay, so that's the difference here. The quiz will still ask you to upload a picture of the graph. So you'll have to upload 2 graphs. Okay, I'll show you where the data is. One is in the results and one is in the post lab. Both graphs have to be graphed and uploaded. Without the uploaded image, if I can't see the image, you won't get the grade. So the first graph is right here under experimental procedure, where you're going to go ahead and plot this value here. So you have volume versus mass, and the volume in this case will be your x-axis. Your mass of the graduated cylinder in a liquid will be on your y-axis. So make sure you graph that, and then you'll have to figure out, which ones you're independent, which ones you're dependent, and then you'll also have to figure out what you want to round up to your boxes. I believe you can use 5 from both of these. And remember, for x-axis, the number of boxes on the bottom here is 15. For y-axis, the number of boxes here is going to be 20. Okay. Now, so you'll have to do that just by hand, but I would rather you keep the answer for the slope. So here's the boxes here. So how did I get 20 and 15? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and then you count 18, 19, 20. And then this way here is 15 boxes, okay? So that's how you count the spacing, and you see here, points used to obtain slope must not be any of your data points, so you pick 2 points on your graph, and you can use these 2 points once you get your Excel graph as well. And you can get the slope using Excel as well. The thing is with Excel, it's going to be less error than you drawing it by hand. So you can do both and compare. I'll show you guys how to do it in Excel as well. So, and you have to get the y-intercept. You have to get the equation of the line. What does the slope represent? So slope is basically it's going to be your y-axis over your x-axis. So depending on what y is, your y is probably going to be your mass in this case, and your x-axis is going to be volume. So grams over milliliter will end up giving you the density. So the slope should represent the density of the liquid. And the y-intercept is basically the mass of the empty graduated cylinder because the volume will be 0. So y-intercept, remember, is the B part. It's when x is 0, which means volume is 0, but there will be a mass of the graduated cylinder. So it will be mass of empty graduated cylinder here. So then this is the second graph you have to graph. So that was the first graph. This is the second graph. This is under PostLab. So a lot of people don't do this and they go on there and they're like, oh, hold on, I'm missing a whole graph. So make sure you graph both of these graphs. I say draw a graph, make sure your graph fills out a space. So we do the same thing. Is this relationship direct or indirect? How do you know? If it's a straight line, it's direct. If it's curved, it's indirect. We are strictly graphing straight lines here. So just a big hint right there. Okay, we have to use the slope, find the y-intercept, write the equation, and then you'll use the equation to solve for these questions here. So you'll have to know, let's see, which one's your x and y axis. So our starting will be your x-axis, exam grade will be your y-axis. So I want to show you an example, so how to graph. So I'm not going to exactly use the same values here, so let's open your Excel up. Once you open Excel, you want to open a blank workbook and you want to type your x-axis on column A and your y-axis on column B. So go ahead and remember x here, y here. So whatever the values is, so we'll make up some number 2, 4, 6, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we'll get another set of values 10, 11, 12, 13, well, 13, 15. Okay, so you'll get some values here. All you do is, once you type up the x and the y values, you select all your data points, and then you hit insert. You go to this one here, the chart that's scattered, and you pick the one with no lines. Okay, so that's the easiest way for you to get a chart, and the second easiest way for you to get your equation to pop up so you can double check your answers is you click on quick layout number 9, the one that has the fx on it. So right here, when they show you the fx, I'm going to go ahead and erase that box. We don't need that. It shows you the equation. We don't need the r squared either. So let me go ahead and erase that. But that would be your equation right here. Now, I would highly recommend, so let me go ahead and make it nicer. Make it bigger so we can all see. Move it around. And you can label your chart title, axis title, to whatever your chart is supposed to be. So this is how you would do an equation here. Now, I would highly suggest on the second graph here, set the intercept to go to 0. So I'm going to show you, so this is the way to get the typical graph here, and you use the equation to solve for answers. But you can also, there's a way to set your intercept to go to 0. So you right click over here, and you want to hit format your trend line here. So sorry, you can't see, I forgot this part doesn't go. You want to go to format trend line. Let me go ahead and see if I can expand my view right here. Okay, so you should be able to see it now. So what you want to do is set intercept to 0. So all you do is you click that, and then you hit set intercept to 0, and then you don't want to display R. You click off that one. So you see how the graph equation disappeared, and then you set display equation again, and then it just automatically changes it to where intercept is 0. Okay, so you want to do that for the exam grade versus the hour studying to set the intercept to 0. But for the first graph, definitely don't set the intercept to 0. Okay, so this is how you remove it. If you don't want to set the intercept to 0, you just click that away, and it'll go away. Okay, so that's how you would graph stuff. Remember, x-axis first, y-axis next. Select all data point, hit insert, and you go to chart. That is basically that scatter plot. And then you use quick layout number 9. Okay. So I hope this helps with graphing. So remember, you do have to do 2 sets of graph. And then you'll answer all these questions here. These questions will be under your results quiz. Okay, so good luck. Let's see.